My name is Thomas Lott. I would like to introduce you to the 20 hacks that we have observed at our customers worldwide. Our customers are small companies or global 2,000 companies, and we have learned so much, and I would like to share that with you. The word business intelligence is back from 1865. It was introduced by Devens while speaking about an English trader who was trying to get information and acting upon those information prior to his competitors. And curiously, it is still the most accepted definition of business intelligence. What we will cover today is basically the booming usages of business intelligence. What are the best ways to collect information and collect data? What should be the roles of the core team? And how can you empower the business teams within your company? Finally, we will try to kill the three business intelligence most frequent myths. So I will start by my 1-minute advertisement. What we do at the official board, we are trying to connect and to make connections easier with the decision makers of medium to large companies. What we do, we are just selecting the companies making over $100 million in annual revenue. They represent, curiously, just 1% of the total number of companies worldwide, but they generate 70% of the revenues. In other words, they are really the dream customers for all of us. For those companies, we are selecting 3 levels of management that we display in our charts. It is the CEO and the board of directors. It is the N-1 to the CEO and the N-2 to the CEO. How the idea came? 2 of my former boss, namely Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos, I was discussing with each of them. And many of my friends wanted to connect with executives at Apple or at Amazon. And as you can imagine, Jeff and Steve were quite reluctant to display the org charts of their companies. So I had to find a way. So this is how we started the official board 8 years ago. How do we do that? First, we are maintaining about 65,000 companies worldwide with about 800,000 executives. We monitor the moves of the web, on the news feeds, and also we complete those information through crowdsourcing. The crowdsourcing is through insiders, through salespeople, through suppliers. It's all the people involved around each company that are helping us to complete those information. Of course, we verify those information through sophisticated analytics, through the history, of course, of our changes, through all the coherence that we can monitor and that we can check. We have, of course, analysts dedicated by industries. And, of course, we send email to each executive that we have listed each time we have a change. Then we offer individual access or corporate access, basically to 3 types of customers: HR, sales, and business intelligence. This is why I am here today. About business intelligence, what it means, it's, let me give you 3 concrete examples. For a very large IT company, we are telling them each time there is a move at one of their 17 competitors worldwide. Another example, we feed our data into into a small company that is integrating other data from other sources, and they provide to 7 large banks in Europe the best possible prospects. And finally, another example, it's about how we follow or we track some specific profiles. We have a German company asking us to follow and to track every chief digital officers in 3 countries in Europe. So this is what we are doing. So let's start by what is happening on business intelligence. First, it is booming. It is a relatively large market. If you just take the software of business intelligence, the business intelligence market, software market, it's about $20 billion US dollars. With historical players such as IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, SES, but also with a bunch of small players popping up and driving growth. The growth of the market is about 10% a year. It is driven by an increasing number of users and dampened by, of course, price pressure because there is so many competitors popping up. Back to 2011, there were about 9 players, including IBM and SES. 3 years later, clearly it's moving. And I can tell you, with what we see since the beginning of the year, at the official board, I am contacted weekly by new players, and none of them is yet on this map. What it means at the end of the day, to be very concrete for each of us, it means that you will have different choices for your business intelligence solutions, and you will be able to choose. There are so many choices and so many initiatives that it's really amazing what's happening. So, as a summary, business intelligence is now for small companies, for big companies, and it's for almost all the type of functions, whether it is marketing, whether it is HR, whether it is supply chain, whether it is operations, whether it is manufacturing. So it is expanding all over the functions. So first, it is booming. Second, of course, to run your business intelligence activities, you need data. And you need data that you can rely on. So the first thing to do is really to understand why are you collecting those data. Most companies do not have the resources of Google or Facebook or Amazon. So you have to really to choose first what you are trying to solve. Take a few concrete problems. Why are you losing some customers? How shall I grow this customer segment of 20%? And then build the data that you need around that. Don't start building big data repositories. It will lead to nowhere. Second, it's much better to have a few data that you can trust than a bunch of data that you would suspect. So in other words, it's quality versus quantity. When the trust is gone, when someone begins to say, yes, I don't trust those data, I mean, it's almost over. The whole report, your whole story tanks, and this is not good. And the evils are in the details, as we all know, whether you don't select the right currency, whether you don't select the right period, whether you take gross sales in terms of net sales. And no one else than you will be able to check it. What is amazing today is that, of course, you can get real-time information. And real-time, of course, it's about getting more accuracy and more relevance. The type of format of data that you can collect is amazing. It's about text, it's about video, it's about sensor, it's about likes, it's about social media, it's about biometrics. So it's about weather, it's about GPS. So there are bunches of information that you can collect. One of the challenges is that whether those information are structured, namely that you can put them in rows and columns, or whether they are unstructured, let's take a conversation, or whether they are semi-structured, namely a picture with a few footnotes. So again, about only 20% of the information that you can collect are structured. So it is very important, and this is happening now, that you can deal with those information which are a bit harder to deal. The good news is that today we have those analytical tools to do that. At the end of the day, it's cost. So you always need to balance between the big volume of data that you can get and, of course, your efficiencies. there is a trick into that, which is a data structure. As soon as you will have, I would say, those information, you need, of course, to retrieve them, you need to analyze them, and if you don't have the right structure, you won't be able to do it. And in 2 to 3 years, when the volume of information will be 10-folds, 100-folds of what it is today, you will have no chance to do it. So I have listed here the most frequent pitfalls of not when you try to structure your information. Finally, learning by doing. Information and data is a long journey. So there is you will have to try, you will have to prioritize, you will have to do it again, you will have to iterate. So start small, do small steps. It will help your team to become data literate. It will give some success. It will give some good momentum around data. So it is very important. At the end of the day, data is about people. So you need to build core teams on analysts and on data scientists. Why? When we were looking at our org charts 5 years ago, we had less than 10 VP analytics, VP research, or VP artificial intelligence. When we look at our org charts today, we have several thousands of those VP analytics, VP artificial intelligence, and VP research at the top of our org charts. What it means is that in the past, those roles was part of chief marketing officer, chief digital officer, chief financial officer, so it was a part-time job. Today, it is a full-time job. So most of the large companies, they begin to have dedicated proactive teams. So it's about analytics, and it's about data scientists. Data scientist is a word that is really said very often. What it is? A data scientist is first someone who loves data. He is able to set up sophisticated algorithm. He knows some standard packages, such as the one coming from IBM, the one coming from Oracle, or from SAP, or from Google, to be able to activate those existing analytics packages. He has also a few knowledge about some language programming, such as Python, and of course, he's comfortable with statistics. One of the challenges is that it's one side to have the technical side, but to be successful, we need also to have the business side and to have this unique smell of curiosity so that people will really find interesting insights out of their data. As you can imagine, those people are rare, and there is a global shortage of those people. So what can you do? First, you can train, of course, some people on the technical side. There are some very good online courses from MIT, from Stanford, or from IBM. Or you can also train, of course, your data scientist to be a bit more business savvy. Okay? It's very amazing in some teams how it is hard for some data scientists to speak and to communicate with the business leaders. So the importance of educating them is you need to educate. You need to educate them. The other way to do it is to hire what is called data translators. What it means by data translators, it is people being able to make the bridges between the data scientist and the business leaders. So it is a way to overcome and to help on this. Finally, people have flocked, willing to use business intelligence. They have flocked into solutions that where the IT assistance was not needed. Today, you cannot do that. Okay? The level of data is so huge that you need to have the infrastructure which is correct. You need to make sure that the data are secure, that you will keep the integrity of the data. And there are a bunch of questions about privacy, about regulation, and about the sources of each data that you store. Otherwise, you can be in real trouble. So IT is now a partner that you need to consider. So we talk about the booming usage, we talk about the data, we talk about the core teams, and now the big question, of course, is how are you going to make sure that that your team, that the business teams are going to use those data. The first step is, of course, to make sure that the access is going to be easy, that people are going to be able to use those data by themselves without having to involve other people. Second thing which is helpful is to have a focus on the narratives of the data rather than building slick reports that will take weeks to assemble. And finally, of course, it is to make sure that you have some visualization tools so that people, of course, can share very easily those data. There is something which is completely underused with the media buzz that we have on artificial intelligence and on business intelligence. It is some simple software that are almost 30, I believe 32 or 33 years old. It is Excel. Excel has become so powerful that you can manage a lot of your business intelligence on Excel. There are about 5 functions that you need to know that I have listed here, with which you can do so many things that it is really worth trying. Another media buzz, which is neural networks. You know, of course, neural networks, everyone at almost every presentation is talking about deep learning and so forth. The truth is that deep learning, it is just a succession of smart, advanced linear regression. It's relatively costly to activate. And in fact, with linear regressions, you can do so many things. And it is not just bootstrapping. It is really getting good results with that. So what I'm just saying here is that it is not compulsory to have the most advanced software. With some relatively simple algorithm, you can get a lot out of your data. I would like also to focus on all the emerging tools. We have seen, how this business is moving as we speak. I guess there are 3 technologies in which we need to have a look. The first one is how the technologies now are able to understand and to get the right information from a text, from a video, from a picture. You can categorize pictures almost automatically. You can get summaries. You can get the concept. You can get the sentiment. So there is really a bunch of technologies around unstructured data and how you can help on those. The second set of technology which is moving fast is about BI as a software service. You have, of course, a big one shop, such as Amazon Web Services, such as Cloudera, such as IBM, such as Google, and so forth. But you have also a set of verticals that are really developing all over the world. So this is really worth to watch out. Finally, there are some very smart visualization tools, whether it is graphics or whether it is just narratives that are picking up the essence of the data and that are making a summary automatically. This is really impressive of what is happening today. So I really advise to look at Quill. Quill, what they have done, honestly, is very good. I would like to conclude with my 3 most common myths in BI. The first one is, of course, whether artificial intelligence can predict the future. The short answer is no. Why? Because whether you collect real-time data, it is still data or facts that have happened 1 second ago. Whether you collect, bunches of data, it is still history. And what are doing those algorithms? They are just extrapolating probabilities. And of course, when you extrapolate, we all know that there are margins for errors. I would say one of the best examples is the forecast of some recent elections worldwide. We all know that the forecasts were not so good, in spite of very bright people involved into that, very smart algorithm, and bunches of data. So let's keep in mind that it is just prediction or prescriptions which are which can have errors. The second myth is everyone is doing it. Wherever we look at, people have the intention to do it. People are willing to do it, but the execution is a long journey, okay? And I've just looked at one survey on this at about 50 large Fortune 1000 companies. Most of them, over 80% were saying that they had implemented programs to improve the data culture within their companies, but 37 were reporting some kind of successes. Just to tell you that even if you inject a lot of money, it's really about culture, it's really about involvement, it's really about day-to-day, it's really about execution. So if you have not started yet, I guess there is you can catch up very easily. And the final one I would like to say is that is about subcontracting. Business intelligence can be split, as we have said, in several steps. Some steps can be subcontracted. Some other steps cannot be subcontracted. So I have listed more or less each of them. And let's take the sources. If you take the sources, the first one, in fact, the ultimate for the sources is to, on one side, to have your own sources, but also to add external sources. This is what I call the ultimate. If I take another one, which is advanced analytics. For advanced analytics, most companies don't have the internal resources. You can hire contractors, you can have your own resources, but you can also crowdsource. You have a very good source site for that, which is Kaggle. With Kaggle, you would find, smart data analytics and smart analytic experts on this. Of course, there are some steps that you cannot subcontract, which is how people are going to share internally, how people are going to decide, how people are going to empower. But business intelligence can be split in different steps. My last slide is about if there is just 3 things to remember out of business intelligence. I guess the first one is start small with compelling projects. I was talking about some of your customers leaving. This is concrete, and then on this you can build. The second takeaway is that you have to check. And when I say check, it is you have to triple check your data. Nobody else will do it for you. And finally, there is a tool which is completely underutilized, which is Excel. And there are just fact functions to know, 5 functions to know. And with those fact functions, you would know that. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciated. And you have my details. Many thanks.